Hey everybody, so we have full spoilers for the Elden Ring DLC here. If you clicked on this video, you probably suspected that, but should you have accidentally clicked this for some reason, then this is fair warning, just leave now. Okay, so let's talk about the final boss in the Elden Ring DLC, which is what we're going to be talking about. The promised consort Radahn. Did he meet my expectations? Did he surpass them? Did he come out underwhelming? Well, that's what we're going to be going over here. So for how everybody knows, I have like notes in front of me and I go over the notes. But other than that, I just put up some footage and then I talk for however long I want to talk about. So there's actually going to be fight footage of me fighting Radahn. But other than that, you can kind of just sort of use this as a podcast or whatever. I know me saying that at the beginning of every video can maybe get annoying, but I have found that if I remind people you can just use me as a podcast and listen along, that, you know, I'm not expecting you to sit here full attention watching me for 30, 40 minutes, however long I go on this. So it just helps viewer retention, which then helps the YouTube algorithm, etc., etc. Leaving comments on what I say also helps the YouTube algorithm. I think people have disagreed with my opinion on lots of videos, and it's totally fine to put comments disagreeing with me. So if you want to do that, whatever. So let's talk about Radahn. First off, the way I beat him, I'm sure people are gonna immediately say, "You beat him with a shield. Oh, how bad are you?" Right? Yes, I did end up beating him with a shield. There were a couple issues I had, and that's kind of why I ended up using a shield. One, I was actually doing significantly better two-handing a weapon than doing a shield at first. So Radahn resists holy damage. I guess we can talk about that. So Radahn is like, I don't even know, it's like 75% or some holy resist. And I had a shield and a straight sword, straight blade, whatever. And I had that build and I was doing really good into him. I was kind of learning all the times I could sneak in some extra guard counters and I was doing really good. But then when I got to his phase 2, he got so much holy resist that it didn't really work. And originally, I wanted to beat him with a DLC weapon, but that just clearly wasn't working out, so I had to drop the shield. I went to a two-handed weapon, and I was doing significantly better there. I got him down to 30% or so multiple times. Never quite got there, though. Unfortunately, I don't know what I'm doing wrong, but everyone else that uses two-handed weapons just seems to do way more damage than I do. And I kept watching other people's videos, and I kept thinking, like, man, if I knew how to get my damage up, I could have killed this boss, right? I see other people using bleeds or just other people just straight up doing way more damage than I was doing. And I don't know what I'm doing wrong with my build. I couldn't figure it out. And I just said, okay, screw it. Let's just go back to the shield. I'll do less damage than other people still can't figure out what I'm doing wrong here. But, you know, at the end of the day, fine. Okay, we can block through this and get through it. The second problem I had, and I'll go over this more later, is visually in the second half of the fight, I just can't tell what's going on so many times. So, like, I can dodge roll, and I know all his combos and stuff and how to dodge roll them. But I figured it was just easier to have a shield because then I can hold block if I'm not sure what's going on. I think in some of these videos, you'll definitely see me getting punished for holding block too long. He definitely will stamina break you and he will destroy you if you're just holding block. You do need to release it very sparingly, or not sparingly. You need to release your block a lot, and you do need to be getting your stamina regenerating, especially with the build I was doing. I was doing heavy build. I wasn't using the trinket to get bonus stamina regeneration, and I was also not using the trinket to get less stamina loss from blocking. In addition to that, I was also not using any trinkets to increase my stamina. In addition to that, I was not using anything from the elixir to give me stamina regeneration. I was using bonus poise damage, and I was using... what was the other one? It was poise damage and... oh, reduced damage taken. So I was taking reduced damage and I was doing bonus poise damage. If you're wondering how I managed to poise break him, I had the poise damage elixir, and I was guarding on him a lot. I used 4 defensive trinkets, if you're wondering how I managed to tank so much. The reason why I went with heavy build is there's a new trinket you can use with heavy build that gives you, I think it's like up to like 10% resistance in every category. I wasn't quite at like 100% of my equipment used, but I was high enough up there that I was getting a good chunk of physical resist, a good chunk of holy resist. Then I was using the holy resist trinket and the physical resist trinket, and I think I was using the magic damage reduction when blocking trinket. So as you can imagine, when I was blocking, I managed to considerably reduce a lot of the holy damage I was taking. At any rate, I definitely think I could have beaten him with two-handed, just spamming dodge roll. I got pretty good at it. It just, like, at the end of the day, I was just having some issues. Now, there's some other things I did better too. Now, I'm saying all this because I know inevitably there's going to be people down in the comments being like, you're bad at game, you use shield. Well, yeah, I mean, you only get to beat him once, right? It's a bit unfortunate. I had a shield build, and someone told me about a really cool shield build that could beat him, and I just kind of wanted to try it because it just looked cool to use. And you can notice in a lot of times in this fight, you have to pull your shield back, and you have to min-max your time in the fight really hard. So you'll notice anytime I can, I'm pulling out to cast spells, to recast some buffs. I'm trying to do a lot of things. The shield has very bad stamina recovery, so like anytime I can, I have to kind of be min-maxing my time really, really hard in this fight. At any rate, last thought here, I did get some better heavy armor. I did get the holy resistance trinket. If I had both of those, I 100% believe with the two-hander I could have beat him. That's the last I'm going to talk about this. I just wanted to catch comments initially before they were even made. I was actually doing significantly better with two-handed than with shields until I swapped over to a semi-bleed build. I wouldn't call this like a hard bleed build, but I would say this is like a semi-bleed build. I'm gonna be honest, I was trying to beat him without bleeds initially, but his health bar is just so ludicrous. The only people I've seen beat him without bleeds are people that are just doing so much more damage than me, using like fast weapons with 2k damage heavy attacks, and I'm like, I could do 2k damage on a jumping heavy with the biggest weapon in the game. Like, it's just like I don't really know like why I cannot reach these people's damage numbers, but okay. So yeah, that's basically what I did. I had a full tank build. I was near maximum equipment load usage. I was like 98%, right? Full heavy armor, 4 defensive trinkets. Wasn't using the shield trinkets, was using poise damage and the damage reduction elixir. If you're wondering why in the second phase I was able to block so much holy damage, that's why, because I just realized I was gonna have to min-max hard on the holy damage, which, you know, I guess then the question is he a bad boss? If I have to min-max this much, is he a bad boss? Well, I would actually say no, and I have my reasons for that. Look, probably the biggest complaint, and I'm just gonna say it right now, his holy resist completely needs to be removed. I don't know why they did that. I could have beat him with my shield and straight blade build. I had the timings down. I knew how to do it. It just, I did not deal enough damage. It was really lame. I was literally using mimic tier and straight blade, and I still couldn't beat him because I was losing like 25% of my total damage when he went into his second phase and got the holy resist. And already being a low damage build, it just didn't seem fair to me that I was losing so much damage just because my sword happened to be a faith strength sword. I was using the Sword of Light. It was really cool. I really liked my build, but I just couldn't kill him because he had holy. So I had to swap my build over to a different weapon. At which point I just said, screw it, swapped over to a bleed weapon. It's not like a hard bleed build. I mean, I still had I had poise damage, physical damage, and then I was casting a bleed spell, which, I wasn't like giga bleeding him, obviously. Like, I'm using a big mace, right? But it was like an in-between. I would say this build was pretty good in its totality. I would say my build was pretty good. But please, developers, like, actually patch it. Like, maybe if his holy resist was like 25%, it would maybe be a bit more reasonable. But, like, my God. Like, I understand lore implications, but, like, screw the lore implications. Like, I don't care, right? Like, and this goes back into what I'm saying right now. This dude is the capstone of Elden Ring. He is the hardest boss in Elden Ring, period, right? And when he resists holy damage, that means you cannot stat check the hardest boss in Elden Ring anymore with a holy damage build. I'm sure you can use Blasphemous Blade. Great, everyone uses Blasphemous Blade. I don't care, right? But like 95% of all holy weapons are now dead. And it's not fun to play a game knowing that you can't even use your cool holy weapons on the best bosses of Elden Ring. You can't use them on Radahn, and now you can't use them on Radahn. boy, their names sound really similar once you say them back to back. It's a terrible thing. And now let's move on here to then why would I say he's a potentially good boss? Everything I just described earlier is why I would potentially say he's a good boss. My hair's a little greasy, but that's because I streamed for like 16 hours, streamed for 16 hours, slept, and then I streamed today. So haven't unfortunately had time to shower. Maybe shouldn't have said that, but there we go. Anyway, a little hot here, a little sweaty. I mean, sweaty over the game, sure, but also because of all the coffee and, you know, it's also Texas. It's Texas summer, pretty hot here. Anyway, so I think Radahn, I'm going to talk about his mechanics later, but him being this hard, hitting this hard, I think it's fine for the most part because this is the capstone of Elden Ring, right? Like, they said they're not going to do any more DLC and this is the end, which in my opinion is a terrible mistake. Having seen the story or lack of story in this DLC, like, could they please just do an actual DLC with some story for once? But anyway, I'm just going to move past that, right? I think having a boss that you need to get trinkets for, and the Faith Resist trinket, the Holy Resist trinket, does come from the DLC, and the Resist All Magic trinket does come from the DLC, and the Resist Magic while blocking trinket does come, you guessed it, from the DLC. So all these things, they come from the DLC, right? So the developers knew, they had in mind that if you're going with a block build, that you would be absolutely screwed against a dude who does holy damage every time you block. You're on a timer, right? And if that timer is too short, with shield builds doing too little damage, they knew that, you know, realistically, you're going to need a trinket that helps you out to resist magic damage whenever you block. Now, you can see, even while blocking, and I stacked everything. You literally cannot get more magic damage reduction than I had here, right? But even when stacking everything, now I didn't have all the Erd tree upgrades, whatever they're called, the seconded tree upgrades. I didn't have all of them. There were a couple I was missing, and I just did not want to go through and find all of them because I was missing like 6, and I was just like, dude, I don't want to revisit every site and remember whether or not I did get them, right? So I could have been tankier if I got all 20 upgrades. Yes. So for those of you wondering, yes, you can beat Radahn, probably. This fight is a bit more complicated, at least for a shield user, than you might be seeing. A lot of people see shield and me using the shield and kind of discount it. I'm not just sitting there holding the shield button the entire time, mind you. I do want to say, you can, if you look at my stamina bar, you will see me releasing the button, holding it, releasing it, holding it, because there just comes a certain point in time where I could not, like, because I had to min-max so hard just to keep, you know, to survive, I couldn't afford any stamina. I tried the fight a lot while having stamina trinkets, and there's just not. There's 2 stamina trinkets they added. You can take 20% reduced stamina damage while blocking, and there's another trinket that I think gives you something like 15 to 20% more stamina recovery. I was initially using those 2, but I kind of had to opt out of them, and I said, look, I'll just get way better at managing my stamina. So you can see, like, I'm like, this stamina bar was choking, dude. It was like, it was wheezing and coughing. It was so close so many times, but I just couldn't afford to have any stamina in my build. And I think, in a way, that's what makes this fight good, is that, like, you have to min-max hard on this fight. And it is, again, literally the hardest boss in Elden Ring. If they move on to another game, onto another product, this is it, guys. Like, this is the hardest boss. So if they're leaving the game, they might as well make something for the people who are going to be playing this game for the next 5 to 10 years. The people who play this game for the next 5 to 10 years, they're going to want something to test their builds on, to test their ideas on. And they did throw in a lot of ideas into this DLC. A lot of these items, a lot of the weapons in particular, seem made with like triple or even quad scaling weapons. They seem made for like level 300, playing on New Game Plus, stuff like that. They very much seem that the DLC was designed to give the game a long breadth, a long lifespan. I do have serious issues with the DLC, so I'm talking positively about it now, but that's just because the complaints I have with it aren't really applicable here. So I just want to say that don't think I'm giving this DLC some like glowing 10 out of 10 best DLC ever, right? I have some issues. They're not, I'm not going to be talking about them right now. But at any rate, yeah, I do think that Radahn being the ultimate boss to test your skill, test your stats on, I definitely think that in a way that actually is a positive, in my opinion. So what are the good things about the boss then? Okay. So there's a problem with Malenia. I think Malenia is one of the worst bosses in all of Dark Souls. I would literally say that she's down there with like a Discharge from Dark Souls 1. She's awful designed. I don't think they really knew what they were doing when they made her. And it's pretty clear they learned from their mistakes when making the DLC, because a lot of the bullshit that she does was not kept into the DLC. And I did notice and I did pick up on this. So what does Malenia do? Malenia has like 900 billion options. She can extend a combo. She can use different attacks in a combo. She can weave one combo from another combo. She can end a combo with a backdash, then start another combo. She can pause, which freaks you out, and then she can just start another combo again, wasting another 10 seconds of your time as you have to spam dodge rolls. Malenia is just an awfully designed fight. In particular, she only really seems to have two moves that do anything: the charge forward multi-hit and waterfall dance. If she's not using those two moves, all she really does is waste your time and make you question whether or not she's extending or changing out to a different combo. The lifesteal is also abysmal. I say this as a person who uses shields. I did fight Malenia, again with a two-handed weapon. I never beat her. I got her to like 20% in phase 2, and I just got exasperated. I said, look, all I'm doing is fighting this fight over and over again until I get good RNG, until she doesn't take an option and counter me when I'm going for a punish or something like that. Like, I just don't have the time to do this fight. It was an exhausting, mentally taxing, draining fight. The Radahn fight, on the other hand, I ended up leveling 2 more times because I knew that if I had a stamina trinket initially, like the Erd Tree +2, and I knew if I changed that out for the Faith trinket that I could win the fight. So I said, look, if I get 2 levels, I can sit at the exact weight requirement needed to not be overloaded, to be on heavy, and I knew that I could win the fight. Now, I only actually needed 1 level. At the end of the day, I didn't need both. But I did end up leveling for the fight because I thought to myself, this fight's doable. This is achievable. If I change out this trinket, if I get the Holy Damage Resist trinket, I think I can get through this phase 2. Originally, I was doing that for my two-handed build, but then... no, actually, I was doing that for my shield build. Man, with my two-handed build, I kept getting close, but it felt annoying, frustrating. I woke up today and I did a practice run, which ended up being like an hour, trying with my two-handed build, and I got really exasperated. And this is definitely a problem with the champion, or sorry, the boss, by the way. I kept getting exasperated in phase 2 when I could not. Sometimes I just visually couldn't understand what combo he was using because there were just so many flashes of light. So many times Mikola's hair would cover his body. He would like turn and I couldn't see what attack he was using. But well, let me go back to good. So at any rate, what does Malenia do bad? Her optional extenders are she has way too many. Her optional enders are way too many. Just too many. There's just too much crap to keep track of. It's bad. It's really not a fun boss fight. Radahn, on the other hand, has although he does have a lot of options, and he does have some extenders, the extenders are kept super low. And most of the time, you can pause for like a split second and tell whether or not he's going to use an extender. Malenia and Margot before her would constantly pause, then go back into their combo. If Radahn pauses, then he pauses. Additionally, if you're using an adequately fast weapon, I don't think in any of these footage you'll see it, but very frequently, what'll happen is if you're not using a super slow weapon, if you go for an attack as he uses an extender, you can often like panic dodge roll because you'll have just enough time to get out of it. So as optional extenders can make you panic and can trip you up, but they do not immediately destroy you. And it's way easier to read if he's going for them. So you kind of have to pay attention and know. And I would say that is like, this is like night and day. After this fight, I went and I fought Melania, and I beat Melania. I had never actually beat her in my Villanelle run, but I just got so frustrated. The fight felt miserable, awful, terrible. Whereas with Radahn, all I kept thinking is like, oh, I could definitely beat this fight, right? Like, that's what I kept thinking. And I could just tell you, it's like night and day difference in just making it a user-friendly fight. It's just a better fight for the player. They definitely learned that Melania sucks and isn't fun, and I'm not afraid to say it. Melania is one of the worst designed fights in all Souls history. I would rather fight any Dark Souls 1 boss ever than ever deal with the absolute crap design of Melania. And none of the bosses, by the way, just to be clear, none of the bosses in the DLC act like Melania. Her very slow potential extender combos where she just goes, am I gonna, well, I did, I'm gonna do, my combo was over, you didn't punish me, back into my combo. Like, that playstyle is gone. I don't think it shows up in any of the DLC bosses. Some of them do have extenders, and some of them have options. There's lots of options on some of the bosses, but again, many of the options will be readable, and they do feel significantly more fair. And that's where Radahn comes in. He is significantly more fair. So, night and day. I don't know. Play Radahn than play Melania if you can, if you have a character that can do them back to back. And I promise you, you will notice everything I'm saying. Because Radahn, there's so many moves on Radahn that kind of telegraph. He can open his combos multiple ways, but the ending, like once you get to the middle of a combo, it gives away what the ending is going to be. So if you see him, and I had to actually get good at hearing, because during the second phase, I could not see sometimes what combo he was doing. But if I heard the wonk wonk combo in the middle, I knew that was the 2-hit. And he does have multiple 2-hits, but there's one that just sounded a certain way. I don't know how to play. And that combo was super punishable because I knew he would always go for the earth explosion after it. Sometimes he wouldn't opt into it, but I knew he would always go for it if I heard the wunk wunk. I do think he actually opts into it now that I think about it. I think the other wunk wunk was slightly different because now that I think about it, I always got the ground explosion, so it must have been a different combo. Yeah. Anyway, I guess that's my point. Melania bad, Radahn good. Radahn significantly more fair. Now, what are the bad then? Because obviously this is not only a good fight, right? Certainly lots of people have complaints, and there's a lot to complain about. No boss is perfect. I'm just saying, like, Radahn would probably be in my top 3 of the DLC. Melania would be in my top 3 worst designed fight ever. I know this is kind of turning into Melania hate video, but holy crap, the circle jerk from Power Scalers being like, Melania is strongest, therefore she is good fight. Okay, I mean, I could double or triple or quadruple the health bar of any boss. I could make any boss deal 10,000 damage. I could give any boss lifesteal. That doesn't make them well designed. A boss is well designed if they're fun to fight and learn. And Melania is not fun to fight and learn just because she biggest power level, right? Like Power Scalers just go, she biggest power level, therefore fun. Like that's just how I feel Dark Souls players are. So for Radahn, don't think I'm trying to be like he biggest power level, therefore fun boss. Mesmer was really frustrating. I'm going to be real with you. But Radahn, although feeling absolutely ludicrous during phase 2, I feel the visual clutter was kind of hiding. Quite frequently, I feel the visual clutter was very much hiding that he wasn't really that ridiculous. But again, let's go into the bad. The visual clutter is very bad. Very bad. Very, 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 very bad. I've heard of multiple people who had to, or I shouldn't say had to, but they did go into their graphics options and tone down the visual effects just so they could actually see what was happening. Now, look, I know I might be getting old, but like, come on. I literally can't see sometimes, dude. Like, the dude would turn around and McQuella's hair is covering his entire body. What move are you doing now, Radahn? I don't know. Okay? It's bad. Now, second thing, now I've seen a lot on Reddit and Twitter, some people complaining about this. Now, I wouldn't, if people are complaining about this, I wouldn't say anything. I'd just assume they're being bad. But I have personally witnessed that some of Radahn's attacks seem to catch you out of dodge roll. I don't know what it is. It seems like if you start a dodge roll, the first couple of frames of the dodge roll, he still hits through them. It's a complaint that's been going around in this DLC, like dodge rolls don't quite work right. The way I got around it was to dodge roll slightly before I thought I had to dodge roll, and that ended up working better. Definitely on my kill on Radahn, you'll see that I dodge rolled a lot of things very, very well. Actually, let me go back to the good, by the way, on Radahn. The good is this boss felt so fair as a shield user. He had no attacks that just ignored your shield. I mean, yes, you do take lots of holy damage, but at the end of the day, it's like, you know, as a shield user, you're just going to have to accept that most bosses at the end of a game, you know, like the last 1/3 of the game, most bosses are going to do some sort of elemental damage to discourage you from just straight up holding the shield button. The ones that don't do elemental damage tend to attack so much that they can break your stamina gauge. So let me go into this. As I was using the shield, it felt very reasonable to me. I'm going to take damage. That's fine. I'm using a shield. I can build to resist the damage, which was good. They gave me a trinket, 2 trinkets, 3 trinkets, in fact, to help resist that damage. Good. All the attacks that were super heavy attacks that you see me dodging, all of them, I dodged them because if I didn't dodge them, they would have knocked my character back. I could block them, but then I can't punish him. So if I want to get in the most damage, if I want to end the fight before I get attritioned out by his holy damage, then I have to dodge roll some. There are numerous attacks that you need to dodge roll. His sweeping sweep attack, dodge roll the second one, otherwise it'll knock you back. One of his combos also knocks you back, but I'm going to be honest, I can't really tell which one led into the knockback, so I never avoided it. If you're far away from him and not holding forward, I noticed many of his attacks will also knock you back. I did find out, and this is why you can see me in the video, I keep like shoving myself right in his face. A, because his mid-range combos are a crapshoot. His gravity pull is complete bullshit. But B, if I was right next to him, moving forward, it seemed I got knocked back less by his attacks. Now, there is a hard knockback shield users can have. That's when you block the attack, but your character gets like knocked back for a second and you can't punish the attack versus just a regular, I blocked this, right? And so if you seem to like walk right up on them and play properly, you can avoid the hard knockback and then you can get the punish in, right? So he felt very fair to shield users. I felt him and Gale from Dark Souls 3, Slave Knight Gale, I don't know if that's how you pronounce it. They were both very fair to shield users. Gale was very fair because he did a lot of attacks. None of them avoided your block. But the thing was, if you just held down your shield, you'd run out of stamina and you die. But if you released your shield, his attacks came so quickly and so rapidly that eventually he'd whittle down your stamina. Now, Slave Knight Gale, he would attack, the best way I can describe him is he would attack over and over and over, but he would give you breathing time to try to get back your stamina or to try to punish you. But at the end of the day, he would attack. He didn't do 30-hit combos. He was just relentless. I never beat him because I have ADHD, and I'm going to be blunt. His giganormous health bar, I couldn't get through it. Like, I don't have good, what do you call it, impulse control. So, like, I just can't, that is the exact kind of boss that mentally I can't beat. Because I can't sit there and be on the ball for 10 minutes. Like, my brain just wanders, and I don't have good ability to fight him. I got close on Gale, but I never, you hear that a lot, don't you? I got close on him, but I couldn't do it. And I just realized I wasn't built to fight him, but he still felt fair. I couldn't beat him, but I feel like if I was a different person, I could have beat him. So that's all I can say. But at any rate, I know I keep talking about a lot of the good. I'm sorry. We'll get into the bad in a second. But good, very fair to shield users. His gravity rush forward, you could dodge roll into it and not get knocked back. His somersault forward, you could dodge roll into it. His whirlwind blades, you could dodge roll that one. Eventually, I learned even his gravity, when he sends the gravity spheres at you. Originally, I thought if you were heavy rolling that you couldn't avoid it. But somebody said if you sprint left or right, perfectly left or right, and jump right as the first one's about to hit you, and you'll see me do this. If you do that, then you avoid the damage. Okay. So, then what are we talking about here? Bad things then. Okay. I don't know if it's dodge roll in Radahn or dodge roll in total, but something just seemed off with that. Okay. His giant explosion, the giant holy damage explosion is... I don't understand if there's like a trick or something, but it seemed basically impossible to avoid. What you need to be doing is right when he casts it at that exact frame, you need to untarget him and start sprinting into one direction. There doesn't seem to be enough time to do that. And if you're even like, if you're drinking a potion, if you're finishing drinking a potion, if you're in the middle of attack, if you're doing anything at all that is not instantly sprinting away from it, you get hit, and it does a lot of damage. Now look, it is avoidable, but it is basically impossible, and the problem is, in so many situations, your best bet, unironically, is to just block with your weapon, because most weapons have some resist, and most of the time, you can block some of the damage. Running out of it just doesn't even seem like a viable option to most people. I don't know. Maybe people can eventually get good enough at dodge rolling it, but there's very little audio or visual cue. There are cues, but it's not good enough. And it's too hard, man. Especially for how much damage it does, it's too hard. I mean, you can see I stacked every faith modifier entirely, and I'm blocking, and I get reduced damage when I'm blocking holy damage, and it still chunked like a fifth of my health. Like, I'm taking like 95% reduced damage, and that still did a fifth of my health. I know I'm exaggerating a little bit, but come on, right? Ugh. The second problem is the meteor explosion. The actual reason I could not beat him with a two-handed weapon, and the actual reason I needed to go get the faith trinket, I don't know how to avoid the meteor, dude. I don't know if I'm timing it wrong or something, but like I just can't, man. And so eventually I figured the best thing to do is to stack all holy resist I could entirely. And when he jumps in the air and blows down on you, haha, remember when he did that thing? When he does that, then you can reduce it enough that you stay alive. I think you saw that it only did half my damage. Remember, that's half my HP, and I'm taking like 90% reduced damage, right? So like it one-shots everyone. It's an actual one-shot mechanic, effectively. If you're getting one-shot, I feel like you should be getting fairly one-shot, right? Okay. The last problem, there's like this 20-hit combo he does. I don't know what starts it, but like, dude, like he comes down, lands on you, full combos, jumps back up, lands on you again, full combos, explodes the screen like 90 times. So you have no idea what's happening. I have not seen many people beat that. I've seen one person dodge it now, but I'm gonna be real for you. It's like Melania's airstrike thing. I forget its name off the top of my head. I have bad memory. It's like that, but like cranked up to 23 times modifier, right? Like it's ridiculous. It's too much. It's for a fight that already has so much goddamn visual clutter. If you're telling me I need to sit here and dodge for like 10, 15 seconds, I need to be dodging, like, come on. I mean, the thing sometimes breaks through my entire stamina bar when I'm blocking. In fact, the reason I had to use this shield, the other shield I was using actually had significantly higher holy resist, but its block modifier, its guard was lower. It was like 78, and it was still too low. I broke when he did the combo and died. The shield I'm using now is like 90% guard block or whatever that modifier is called. It's a DLC shield. It's very good, right? Now, before you say, oh, you only won because you use that shield. Hey, shut up. If they put it in the DLC, it's fair to use on the DLC bosses. Maybe if you're saying the regular bosses it's overpowered against, sure, fine. But if you put a shield on the DLC, then I get to use it on the DLC bosses. So shut up. Just shut up. Okay. What would I say about the fight as a whole? What is my issue here then? I think it's a better combat experience than Elden Beast by far. I think Elden Beast was one of the worst goddamn experiences of my life. And I remember beating Elden Beast, and I think on the VOD I literally say, and that's how Elden Ring ends. Fighting a space whale. It's just awful. They ended Elden Ring on one of the worst goddamn bosses I played against in that entire game. I think the cat statue would have been a better finishing boss than the Elden Beast. However, with that said, now that we've gotten through this, and I'm complimenting the combat of the boss, and I'm complimenting his difficulty, and I'm complimenting that he's like a giga stat check for the final Elden Ring DLC, right? Only DLC. Now that I've said all that, the story sucked so unbelievably hard. I honestly am shocked they managed to suck even harder than Elden Ring. Holy crap. They ended Elden Ring, they ended its DLC with a potentially non-consensual, incestual, homosexual boss. Now, there's nothing wrong with being gay, for sure, but like a non-consensual, incestual, homosexual boss. That's Miquella. I don't understand, but it's like they were literally fishing to make literally the worst goddamn thing ever. I just... Not only that, I feel like it was pandering as hell to do like Radahn Prime. Okay, so like as a complaint here, did anyone think, is a serious question, did anyone think Radahn didn't have a satisfying ending? Because I definitely think he had a satisfying ending. I do. I think he had a very satisfying ending. And when you take away that satisfying ending by giving him the worst goddamn ending imaginable ever, that sucks. Radahn had an ending. He had the festival. They were trying to kill him to cure him, I guess, because, you know, his brain had melted. So the cure was to finally put him out of his misery. But he was so strong that he kept killing everybody who tried to kill him. I guess technically in self-defense, right? I guess there's that little modifier. So I think he had a satisfying ending. You and all your people got together. The awesome music played. You summoned your party. You went to fight Radahn. You were the last man standing, and you managed to beat him, right? So I think he already had a satisfying ending. And then they brought him back. And then they just member buried. They went, hey, member the meteor? Hey, member his music? Member Radahn? And it gets worse than that because they put in another set of Radahn's armor. So now there's 2 sets of Radahn's armor, if you can believe it. And then they added his weapons. Again, a second time. So there's now 2 sets of Radahn's armor and 2 sets of Radahn's weapons. I don't really understand why. I understand Radahn was a fan favorite. He's definitely my fan favorite. But I'm going to be honest, I might have to retract him being my favorite character now. I might go join Team Moog because I feel so pandered to that I'm getting cancer. It was such a fan service pandering ending that I feel like I retroactively hate Radahn now. I don't know a better way to put it. I feel like I hate Radahn now. Wow. And so the fight does get better the more you play through it. A lot of people will probably fight this fight early on and think it's ridiculous, unbeatable, insane. I assure you, it's not as bad as Melania in any stretch of the imagination. It seems pretty bad at first, but once you start reading his combos better, and once you start noticing that many of his combos have tells as to which combo it is and which combo it's going to lead into, it gets a lot better. Additionally, his main gimmick, I guess I should talk about this. I definitely should put time talking about this. His main gimmick seems to be punishing the crap out of you for trying to dodge roll away from him. His stomp causes an explosion that chases you if you try to dodge roll away. Many of his 2-hit combos will chase you and hit you if you try to dodge roll away. Some of his finishers cause an explosion, which, you guessed it, hits you if you try to dodge roll away. Spacing on Radahn is super hard to get. Now, I do think there's a reason for that. At some point in development, they must have noticed that at mid-range, Radahn uses the worst goddamn ability imaginable that is extraordinarily, insanely punishable. When he somersaults forward and double slams the ground, literally anyone can dodge roll into that and punish it. And he has an optional combo extender on that where he does the same somersault a second time. Here's the problem. Most weapons in the game can punish the first one, have enough time to dodge roll the second one, and then get in a second full punish. That move is so bad, it makes up the majority of how I managed to two-hand beat him. All you need to do is stand at mid-range, and he'll either do the gravity pull, which has almost no startup and is a complete bullshit insanity move that they need to add more startup to. It's a complete broken move, period. It's broken. Like, I'm not going to sugarcoat it. It's a broken move. It's too goddamn fast. Slow that shit down by like 0.1 or 0.2 seconds. Like, give people a little bit more breathing room. It's insane. And for how much damage it does if he actually pulls you in, it's insane. His other moves, his grab, he literally jumps in the air and goes, I'm going to grab you. But the gravity pull, he's like, and then he just pulls you. And then you lose 2/3 your health bar. It's ridiculous. But with that said, he only seems to do that about 20% of the time. The overwhelming vast majority of the times, if you're playing at mid-range, he just does the most goddamn punishable move ever known, ever. And you just immediately punish him and beat the crap out of him. So I think maybe they were trying to stop people from getting to mid-range and abusing that if you just sit at mid-range, he'll use that move the majority of the time and just eat a punish, potentially a double punish. But I will say, with all that said, there is probably a problem when a boss chases too well. I can't really imagine beating this dude with a spellcaster. At the very least, I don't think you will ever be able to generate enough distance. He has so many punishes for I don't think he input reads that hard. He seems to input read on a percent. That percent seems to be low. So if you use a fast enough ability, you might be able to bait out one of his attacks, get the ability off, then punish him for input reading it. But if he uses the gravity pull, dude, you're dead. If you're at a far enough range, you can actually back out of it. But, like, good luck ever building that range, right? Like, holy crap. I think it is significantly harder to beat this boss as a caster than as anyone else. I was watching Kai Cenat fight him without armor. Dude, literally just light roll spamming. Light rolls seem to ignore most of his frame traps because they seem to be faster. And I think light roll spamming is actually potentially easier than even using a shield. I noticed, like, dude, he can just dodge everything this dude does. So I would actually say, like, in order, I probably think light rolling is the easiest way to play it. Then shield. I think shield is about equal with two-handed. So I think it's like light rolling. I'm going to call it like the jumping heavy. Like, I'm going to call it Giga Hammer build. Giga. I mean, it doesn't have to be hammer. Two-handed axes, two-handed, anything. Big weapons, right? So it's probably light rolling, then big weapons is equal with shield, then mages. I have no idea. Someone send me a video in the comments. Go send me a video of a mage beating this dude. And I'm not talking a mage who sits in melee using fast spells. Show me a video of someone who actually generates space and uses their space to beat Radahn. Because, like, I literally don't think... I know someone will prove me wrong, but, like, dude, there's no way that shit's possible. Like, come on. Anyway, that's probably bad. So then the ending of this boss fight sucks. really hard too. You get like a 5-second cutscene and that's it. It sucked. I'm sorry, it sucked. It was fan service. It was pandering. It was bad. It now raises some serious goddamn questions as to timetables, by the way, because you kill Radahn and then the DLC happens, right? Like that's a timetable, right? So you kill Radahn, you kill Mohg, then you do the DLC. So the time from you killing Radahn to the DLC is maybe leniently like a week, I'll give it, right? But that raises some serious questions because that means that Miquella, or I should say that means Malenia fought Radahn at some point in the past. Like a week ago? Probably not. Why? Because they have the festival. And if they're doing the festival to try to kill Radahn, and this festival has happened many times, and it's a big experience, then that means that this festival has been going on for a while. Now, does that mean Malenia has just been sitting around in the Halig tree, corrupting it for like a decade? And if she's been doing that, then why has Miquella not done anything and been like, hey, yo, stop killing my Halig tree? Does he not care about the Halig tree anymore? How many followers has he lost in the Halig tree? How many followers does this guy have? Can he get all his followers into the Land of Shadow and all his followers at the Halig tree? How many followers, how many people are following this dude, man? And worse yet, comes the question of why didn't Miquella come and heal her if she's been there for like a decade? Is she just healing for like a decade? Worse yet, when you beat Malenia, she's in her cocoon, presumably healing again. But she literally never gets brought up in the DLC even once. What I'm trying to say is all these weird plot holes have now happened because they wanted to bring Radahn back. And if you don't want to say they're plot holes, then just say they really don't make sense. If Malenia fought Radahn years ago, then Miquella has just been sitting around, letting his Halig tree get messed up, letting all his followers get corrupted and die, letting Malenia just get screwed up, right? Like, why? This dude's got the power to do all this crap, and he just lets Malenia rot? He just doesn't care? Why? Does he not care about her? Is he a shitty person? Is that what the takeaway we're supposed to be getting here? Is that he sent Malenia out, she got, the Scarlet Rot, and he's just not healing her? Are we saying that he doesn't care about the Halig tree, that he doesn't care about any of his followers? Is the DLC ending just that Miquella is absolutely a terrible person? And then that feels kind of weird, because, like, he's supposed to be at least a little bit sympathetic, but are you saying that he's absolutely terrible, like worst of the worst? In fact, it gets even worse because now they're trying to like redeem Mohg. Like, yeah, it was kind of awkward liking Mohg, liking his aesthetic, thinking it was a super cool character. It was kind of awkward doing that when he was kind of like an absolutely terrible human being. But even trying to redeem Mohg, now we're just putting all the blame on Miquella. Are we saying that Miquella is now like the worst of the worst person in the entire story? We don't even really kill him. We kill Radahn. We don't even get a remembrance for Miquella, I don't think. We get the remembrance of Radahn. I don't think we even see Miquella die. Dude, just like, it's just gone, right? Like, it sucks. Like, I'm saying this ending just sucked. It just sucked. Anyway, that's going to be the video. I should go take a shower, but I'll see you guys all later. Give me a comment. Give me thoughts on any of this. Do you agree? Do you disagree? Thank you all for watching. Thank you all for being here. And as always, I hope you all have a great rest of your day.